Hello everyone, this is Jeremy I Space-Time Creator on Communication Settings. There's a communication line interference when we come into position locations to our frequencies. Now, there's a lot of communications in settings. If you feel like you're at a high frequency at the highest level that you could ever be in set location system, but you're trying to understand the information to panels to its low frequency at the location system, you're not losing information. You're just not supposed to be there anymore. So it's all calculated to modify. You're not losing frame lines and memory lines or any communication setting. You're not forgetting these things in location system. You just realize you're more levels of the mind adaptation. So you start living the actual system location spectral communication system. It all protocols, its line settings, and position all calculations with generation line stream. It puts position and track communication settings. Look at me, I'm talking like a computer. And a line center interference all space-time communication to my system and position. So everything that General gives you is all information line settings for you guys understanding your frequencies of your own set location system, because you're in all communication in your settings all through data, right? It's a process to understanding how to use it through feeding source lines, strings, set lines of communication line settings, operation surface, and set location to the system. So in frame communications, it's really to understand how to look at everything of communication through data. So try to understand is that once you get information of your own GD line positions, this is GOD, its own calculation setting, has a spectral communication, mirror resolution line setting, line rotation position, has a wash correlation line interference, time frequency time line. It positions its travel communications in a line calculation setting in set locations, right? All through a watch. So in that communication, you can have a regular conversation, okay, because you're at that frequency. All right. So it's really interesting when you look at location settings, you understand where the energetic wave is, where the line signals are coming in, where they cross the position location that travels, high calculations of pi. You split the positions of diameter line interference and dilation, set lines of communication, split communication of 4 line settings. That's pi recognition line interference, 12 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and so cases 9 to 12, right? It's interesting how everything is line calculation in 15 minutes, right? 12 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and 9 to 12. It's a diamond setting. Okay? So you have to understand the position at all levels of the watch line is a triangulation line in position northwest, south, and east. Now that's a high calculation of Hubble that sets lines in communication system. That puts position of track lines out communication settings. And then you got a downshift line of triangulation line in position location, which is also line can shift east, west, and south. East, west, and south. North is line setting. Okay. So there's not a north direction setting because it's a circular rhythm rotation interference. It confuses non-location of travels. So it's about understanding how to use the spectrum communication lines of circulation or rotation surface instead of location your pi. It directs signals instead of location system. Now there's a product line setting line interference that you guys are coming into, 76 over pi, innate line in rotation position, positive and negative. In position of negative, negative, in position of positive, negative. Positive, 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 positive. 3 line centers and set location setting direct signals. How to use the correlation setting in all positions of the panels, operation of surface. So this sets a high position of track communication in your settings. It operates line communication in positions, right? So 76 lines over pi puts position locations of 77. And that's the phenomenal line interference that's setting your locations to your equations in set location. Okay, so there's a lot of signals that are coming in line positions of panels, operation of surface locations. So really understand that you're reaching these frequencies now, and all you have to do is try to understand what it is. What does it mean to me? Why do I have to communicate with the wall? Why do I have to communicate with the table? Because you're using the table, or you're going past the wall. So you're kind of like your scan line. You have a window graph line, and that's a 48 window, 24 line setting. Okay, 48 window, 72 computer line, and a 144 crystal grid. Walking system line settings, a high calculation streamline into crystal grid line interference, travel communication setting, and direct signal set location system. So everything that you're looking at directly is looking back at you. And once you understand what is going on with your set line communication system, you understand that everything that you've seen has its own GOD of its own direct signal. It's a direct signal location to your system. So everything you're looking at is at a different vibration, different frequency, different harmonics, different channel. Different operation line center of intelligent location operation. Okay? Especially when the team gets in that high interference and travel communication settings. But see, the thing is that when you change, everything changes. If I change my thought, everything in position on my fan, my digital pad, my computer, my phone, my coffee, my connections to my line settings on my table, my window frame, my graph lines, the high calculation, my blinds, my wall changes. So you got to redirect signals and communicate with it all over again because it's at a different frequency. Through seconds, through minutes, through channel line operation to its position location of hour. Okay? Seconds on the minute. Okay? Minutes on panel, on platform. Okay? And the hour is position location of clock. Okay? Those are the three central line settings of set locations. Right? So every time you're communicating, your time frames are line signaling to what? Simultaneously all at once. Every second counts, right? Every millimeter per second, every centimeter per second, every calculation of a high line position location, 2/3 of a pi, 3/3 of a pi, 2 line calculations of pi, 2/4 of a pi, 3 calculations of a pi, all direct signal set location in your system. Okay, so remember that. You're on the seconds, minutes of the hour. Now, every time you change your direction, if you're flash driving line settings, if you're just getting an observation and you're just getting connected here, 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 you're just observing. That's totally fine. All right, you're glancing. That's okay. But if you get a direct signal, now you got communication between whatever you're communicating with, right? So after you understand the geometric location of looking at a fan, the fan's looking at you through a frequency as you're looking at a frequency. So you're communicating. You're communicating, having a regular conversation, just like you do with your friends and family. Okay? So once you get into that provision, then you understand the correlation settings in direct signal location system. So it's not correlated in position of 1, 1 anymore. It's position of 1 center calculation setting. So it's a direct signal to all set locations through a system. Getting into modification line interference. Now the center communication and everything, if you look at my coffee cup and set locations, is allocated position of its higher self and its avatar through its own GOD. Yes, it has a higher self. Yes, it has an avatar. It has to. Everything has its own GD. To understand the GOD is understand the process of its beginning. Is to understand the correlation system, how it becomes its own space through time through pi. And that's why you guys have a watch to travel through it, through pi. Okay? Because to understand line setting line interference is 7/7. Now that's 2 theta box line rotation interference. You guys are your theta lines and your communication line stream interference is opening up more video graph line set location and settings. It's opening up more communication in your system and position location. All right. So just be aware of that set location in your system when you're communicating with things. All right, calculation lines of Geneva, all levels of Danielle. Okay, setting travel position line settings, high calculation to the system. All right. Lori. So everybody coming in line signature, line stream. So remember that, guys. Okay, and the true stand is being specific on what you want. You can't command your center if you don't understand your system inside. So you have to command yourself inside first. Have your controller inside, not outside. Because it's all calculated, modified to line interference and confusion. To put yourself in provision is to understand how to really get into calculations inside your settings. Okay. Okay, so getting into graph lines, this is how we ended setting of communication to set lines in high setting and travel communication of surface and direct signals and set locations to a system. Okay, how that's set at line settings. All right. How to set up line connection to the spherical sphere line, the energy line, the travel communication 144 platform, and position of pyramid line, center line interference, the travel communication setting, and direct signal. See, knowing everything is seeing everything which has already been said, which has already been in calculation. So in that line interference, this is already calculated, already been done. So if I want to add frames, I'm adding more lines of communication to it. So I'm now having a conversation with this because it's already set up. which means you're already created it already. This is already created. So if you want to add frames, now you're having a conversation with the position, location of structure. You have to understand how this works in all ways and forms and set location to your systems, right? We got solar line, signal line position travels. All right, so in signature line setting and direct signals, we plotted 2 line rotations. So we had a clock line, center line interference, center correlation, center of 0, even line conditions, all line interference. So we set up 3 lines, a perimeter line, position location of 0, lines of 3 operations. All right, 0 equals 0, 0 equals 0. Okay, and equal lines is 0, and position of triangulations, box line and positions, box line and position location, and setting and position line conditions. Now, the travel line communication line is a triangulation line division that rotates the surface when it comes into its diamond core and line position location attraction. So this puts a seed pod line setting. It sets lines across line rotation surface in the center position. Now, the operation line center sets a circle line communication setting in direct signals. Now, this crosses streams and set location high setting and directions. Okay, it's very complicated. Now, in that line interference, we set up spectrum communication lines and set location of travel. Travel line signatures lines is 3 lines of panel and communication and directions. Now, this opens all signals and panel communications, comes back and set line high interference and travel communications. All right. Now, the travel line center and center line interference, a box line sets line communication and triangulation line setting. You set position of travels into lines of 0 line communication and high setting, directing signals and high communication to its position. So this opens up line interference, a higher calculation of securities and position of track communication and 0 line communication. Okay? Done my equation. All right. So we got to set up the spectrosphere. Now we're adding an equation line streams. Flux capacitor and set location to directions. Directing line signals and set location high setting. Okay, set up a timestamp. Clock line, setting line interference, and travel communication line directional locations into 0 lines of operation stream location. Okay, in directions. Now, opening up that signal line interference sets the position of triangulation. This is north line signal, line position location in line conditions of west, in line conditions of east, in line centers of south, and line interference, and set location and setting in a higher calculation streamline and set locations. Okay? Okay, so we line shift the down cross stream and set location line position, a perimeter. Center calculations line interference. So you set up in a geographical map line sequence and set location of travels. Now the travel line, center line interference, we put a triangulation line setting in 3 set location system and 3 centers of operation. Okay, done by equation. All right. Okay, so that's going to line signal. So it's very complicated what I'm doing now, guys. It's higher levels of travel communications. All right, so we all have to understand how this works in communication, your settings and directions. We start with this line conditions, all right? Travel lines of 0, travel lines of 0, equal lines of 1, and 0 lines, equal lines of 1 in communications, all right? 1 in perimeter crosses stream, direct signals, cross line signals, and high center line position, operation of surface. Travels lines and high calculation setting directions. Now, the signal lines of panels, lines of high interference, sets a moon line rotation, surface, and a ground line operation line setting in position of track communications. This opens all signals. Now you set up a laser line grid in 1 line signature. See? Signals line, inline interference, travel communications across lines in position location to its position line conditions of the rectangular line position and signal communication line directions. All right. Flux capacitor line shifts as line cross. Then we set up a cloud line channel, line conditionized system of frequency patterns, and sets direct signals. So we got optimum line setting, 1, and direct signal. We change the correlation lines of waving lines and travel communication 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and 7 in sublocations of travel. 7 line and line interference, electrical line condition of 1, in position of 2, in position of 3, position of 4, 5, 6. Line setting line interference, 6 lines of 6, 6 lines of 7, 6 lines of 8, 8 lines of 9, and 9 lines of 12 in set location of directions. Okay? Now, in that signal line interference comes all levels of sigma. Now, signal line interference sets line conditions of gamma 1 signal. Okay, equal line conditions of 1, line conditions of 1 set location of directions. Directing signals, position of panel through pi calculation. Okay? Done by equation. Very complicated. So the waving central line center is lines of graph line stream. That's where we put up electrical line walls and communication of settings in 1 panel. Operation to correlation line directs locations of crystal grids and laser line send line interference and traffic communication location grid settings. Directing signals in set location system, indirect signals in set locations. Yeah, I know, 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. Well, I got to get this line setting for you guys to understand position of travel. Okay, so that's 1 sigma over pi. One line center line is equal line condition of 0. So we've got a 0 line communication, a 0 line operation surface, and set location of directions. Now we take the 0 lines and set location lines, setting 0 lines equal lines of 0 equals 6, and we 0 lines of 0 lines of 9, and 0 lines of 9 locations equals 8. 8 line center lines of 6, and 6 position of panels, panel positions back into 1. Gamma line center, high interference, travel communication, and 3 set line connections of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 set location settings in pi recognition. Now my equation, right? All right. So setting up signature line setting is all about understanding how to set positions to your frequency set locations. All right. Gone, but still there. Okay. So getting that position line track lines, you have to understand the voice and line grids because there's 2 panels of operation line setting locations. So we've got 1 box line setting. And we got perimeter line setting and triangulations of 3 sets. 3 sets, lines, position locations, levels of 4 line. So 4 lines at signal, 3 lines at line interference, 4 equals lines of 3 equals lines of 7, 7 lines at 12, 12 line center line position of 24, in position of 48 line window, center calculations in video graph lines, and 2 line rotation surface and set location setting of box location. Done by equation, right? Because you guys are in 7 panels now. The sequencing line center says the box line position location east line and west line and north line and the south line communication and line interference and travel communication setting in position of tesseract tetraheater line interference in position location line condition high set interference and travel. Travel direction of time sequence, that's going to travel communications out of equation. Gone, but still there. All right, so we go through the spectrum line setting in the surface, center correlation line and positions, center lines its line interference and set location setting. Directing signals, 1 position and 3 line center locations of travel. Directing line signature pattern lines of 0 lines of communication. Directing signals. Center correlation line directs signals in line condition of vortices. Vortice line interference. Sets position location of heart calculation setting and directions. Now in that direct signal line interference, we set up a 0 line, rotation surface and position location magnetic line setting the high calculation of center position of travel. Directing signals line and high line interference, 3 set locations and position locations, and 1 line interference and 3 set locations of travel settings. Directing line center line interference, there's a line communication triangulation. See the triangulation line setting and directions? All right, so that directs line center line interference, left line wires, open line rotation surface and correlation system, and track setting, and line communication, the atom line rotation, and molecular light, a structural communication system. Done by equation. All right. So the spherical sphere is now set up line conditions in the high settings and directs signals to 4 lines of 3. 7 in perimeter, 7 in location is 7 in center. Operation surface to magnetic highway information line stream that sets line conditions high system and travel line setting and calculation to its directions and its torical field and set locations. All right, done by equation. All right. Okay, so that's going to line signal out. Done, but still there. Thunderbird bounding through the field. Yeah, so many. Yeah, okay, beautiful. Flying around. Yeah, so you guys are getting your communications, your nature streams, your nature lines, your spherical spheres, your communication frequencies, your pattern line settings, your direct signals, and all calculation line and positions to your 7 panels. 7 panels, 7 operations, 7 chakras, 7 lines, 7 moons, 7 suns, all calculated, modified in the line rotation interference and travel communication setting. 7 galaxies and 7 high calculation settings and travel communications, 7 cases of travels. 7 stargates, 7 line signals. Everything starts with 7. Why? Why? Because it's your 7 chakra system. Okay? So in that correlation setting, you have to really understand how to set up the line communication setting. To 0 line communications, you go through graph line, center line interference, box line. 2 box lines and line interference, and 1 pyramid line stream. Set line conditions setting and track communications and operate line surface location of travel and set locations. Now this directs signals. Now when you get in a line center lane, you come into torical field and line position location of travel settings. See that? Now in that line interference comes in position locations into an energy line. It's a grid line rotation and electrical fence line that opens up position of track communications. Directing signals, scan lines, and set location at 2 lines of 0. equal line calculations in position of box and box line set location of travel. Directing signals line, high line interference is a graph lines of pi and set location system. So this is where it comes into 12, into 24, into 48, into 72, and to 144 of crystal grid rotation surface and set location of grounds. Now the crystal line setting sets of film strip lines, life signals, life center, life rotation surface, and ground line connections, high setting, direct signals. Directing signal line interference is zero line position of 0, 0, 0, 1 line setting, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1 line setting, 0, 0, 0. In position locations and line setting of 76, line connection of 77 to track communication, center operation lines of phenomenon, and center communication of center calculation. Done by equation. It's all set up. So we're going to keep that on signal. And platitude line stream, we're going to set up line positions, all levels of calculation. Crystal grid on line, around, not touching anything. Yep, you get the line center line locations, so basically what to do and what not to do, what to touch, what not to touch. Okay, so in that position, okay, you have to truly understand how we come into calculation settings, into like a bioscopic line-to-line interference, into a bioptic line stream and line rotation interference that sets our metric scales, box line rotation surface that travels line signature patterns and set location and directions. Signal lines on high calculation strain, directing signal line and position location of seed pod. Rest of town line, center lines, a clock line, and Fibonacci rotation surface and set location of travels. Now, directing signals is really understanding how to set up panels of communications in the box line surface and the center position location high calculations, right? Directing line signatures. Now we come into the flux capacitor, channel line interference, travel calculation line interference, line calculation, travel line signals and upline signal. Down cross line stream and line calculation setting in position location of catapult through pi lines that streamlines the set location of travels. Directing signal lines, 2 panels lines of stream, the lines of 3, the lines of 2. Signal line interference, the line condition of 3 over 2, 3 over lines, 3 over 5 lines and line interference, 7 over precision, line over 5 lines of 12, 12 to 24, 48, 72, and 144 of a line communication line grid and a line setting in direct signal. Setting direct signals in line and rotation interference is understanding how to travel communication of 2 panels operation stream location line setting and high calculation stream location and settings. Directing line signature patterns. Now the correlation on line and position location comes into 3, center lines of 3, and in position location line system, 3, 3, 3. Center lines of calculations in box and box line center location. The triangulation is in the middle set locations. So we come into masculinity, femininity, masculinity, femininity, family, masculinity, family, masculinity. Balanced communication of 3, 3, 3. Balanced communication of 5, 5, 5. Balanced communication of 7, 7, 7. 7. Line center line interference. Balanced communication of 6, 6, 6, 6. Balanced communication lines of 9, 9, 9, 9. 4 lines of 3 lines and high line interference of 4 communication lines of 7 line interference position of 12, 12 line signature patterns. DNA track communications, 4 panels, rotation service, coloration line stream. Directing signals and panel communication of 1 graph line stream and rotation surface and set locations. Done by equation. All right. Setting up a communication of spectral square line is all about understanding how to set up a crystal grid line stream. Now, crystal line screen line is line condition of lacing lines of communication of 2 line streamlines. Sending correlation lines of lacing lines of 1 track communications and the opposite directions crossing signals as location of travels. Directing signal lines comes into a figure 8. See the figure 8 line rotation, center calculation center, in line communication of travel and set location of directions. Scan lines, circle line rotation surface and set location across circle and set locations. Directing line signals is understanding how to set up panel line streamlines. So 8 line center in position locations. There's the 8 line center. Set a correlation line interference. Here's another 8 line center line conditions. See the 8 line center locations. Travel line center line interference is infinity over pi lines. Now this calculates line calculation setting into mortality. Setting correlation line settings and direct signals. Setting lines of 0 line, operation of 2 line, operation of 3 lines, and 3 spectrum orbs and set location of travels and 3 set triangulations. Directing signals and lines and high interference. Now we set the 0 line. Travel line of platitude line rotation interference of 144, travel calculations of 244, lines and lines of 344, 444, 544, 644, 744, 844, calculation line, setting line direct signals and travel communications into 944 set location travels. Now this puts position of track communication settings now and all direct signals of platform communications. Done by equation. All right. It's amazing how you set location in the systems. off the spectrum communication. All right. All right. So seeing what's going on is understanding line setting. Okay, line setting lines of 1 and 2 panels operation of 3 set location of travels. All right, so we got 2 line centers, box line rotation, travel calculation of 0 lines, and set location of 24 clock, a 48 clock, a 72 line computer, and a 144 crystal grid line that sets lines of 0 operation to surface and set location of directions. Now, directing signals is 2 lines is set location of travel lines. This box lines is position location of 3 line setting of travel communications. Directing signals, setting up sonar line streams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 line setting location line system of travels. Directing signal lines. Now we open up the sun, the operation, surface location of future adaptation, surface, and magnetic line setting on travel communications. Directing signals, 1 line signature, travels line centers of travel calculation streamline. Let's correlate non-line interference, travel communications, indirect signals, line connecting high center line conditions to your Merkabah new line string and set line calculation setting, indirect signals, and calculation modification line condition of the torque field line. It opens all the signal line rotation surface and set locations. Okay? Done by equation. All right, so in that signal, the frequency line changes patterns, okay? Waiting for signals to be completely standby. Source of recognition line calculation setting, indirect signals. Know exactly what's going on through pattern communications. All right, so line center line interference of 2 bracket lines. That's bracket line calculation settings and 2 hangers communications, right? Center calculation of 0 and position of 76. Equal lines of set line calculation setting, 2 positive line settings, and 2 negative in line rotation surface. Now, directing lines of 0 line crosses stream in position of 1. 1 line centers of 2, lines of 3, in position of 4. Waiting on signal, which is a cross line stream. Box line position location high setting and measured. Correlation line, stream to line, crisscross line calculation setting and direct signals in set location system. 2 timestamps, 2 lines of signal and 2 lines of parameter line interference and travel communication of 2 over lines. 2 position location triangulation of 3 set locations of travels and set locations. Done by equation. All right. So we get a spectrum map line calculation setting. Now we got 2 box line settings. So we rotate the surface, we add the frame and correlation setting. There it is. See the intelligence? You see it? See the nose? See the face line? The neckline? Here's the neckline, guys. Boom, boom. Ooh-ah. Multipass. Okay? Very powerful how you set line communication to setting high position of travel, line position line conditions, face recognition time sequence. Puts position location in perimeters and parameter line center location of your structure lines in a formation line center location of future adaptation system of your avatar location setting. See the intelligence? Ooh-ah. So we're going to keep that through signal. Okay, so that sets line calculation string line. Now the platitude line interference, we come into this line streamline at set location setting direct signals at set locations. All right. Now the channel line interference, we're adding frame line streams, setting calculation line interference of 0 calculations, 0 line in positions, and 0 line settings and triangulation line sets. Now directing signals is a panel line change. The change the direct signal line center line and position a clock line and set location in its misdirection location setting. Done by equation. All right. So I had to reset the calculation string line and set location travels, direct signals. Okay, so in that position locations, it's gone and traveled through line setting. Done. All right. So it's very interesting to understand locations because it involves this line setting. So go to 1 line stream, box line rotations, and set lines of 2 sets. So you have to learn how to put box lines, travel lines, communication lines, line interference, line position, travel calculation lines, and 2 box lines and 1 line signature. 2 boxes through 1 line signature. Okay. So once you understand how to do that, you do the 2 clock line setting in set locations. Once you understand that, use the umbrella line rotation surface and the ground line operation setting. There's the intelligence. See? Directing signals and parameters and the pyramid line rotation of center. Okay. So redirect the signal line settings. This is an oval line rotation to 3 set calculation streams. Setting direct signals and set location line signature patterns of 2 atom line rotation. Now this panels its calculation line of travel settings. Okay. Remember, you have 1 line provision, 2 line sectors, and 3 set calculations in forks of rotation surface. Directing signals, travel lines, in signal can high setting. Directing signals, travel lines of 1, travel lines of 2, travel lines of 3, and travel lines of 4 is the location of travels. Now, directing signal line interference, we have one UFO line crossing stream. Directing signals, laser line calculation setting, cross line center interference, travel position locations, jump scars, jumps line center line interference, travel calculation lines, and travel calculation setting, and 3 sets of perimeters, line center and ground lines, and the new work about change line, operation surface line, calculation string line, and location of spectrum. Okay, see how it travels line signature line stream? All through laser lines of sky grid line setting. Okay. Very powerful when we come into the all high calculation streamlines and location of geometric line setting location systems. Done my equation. All right, so directing panels is understanding how to use it through provision. Okay, so we all have to understand how to channel the operation line stream. Okay, getting a provision location, line center location, your system, your waving line center is nothing but a geographical map location center. Okay, so that's going to travel signature out through equation. Boom, that's still there, right? Remember, everything that disappears, it reappears in another line time, setting communication, another chronological stream. A chronological stream is a film strip line setting. Your life consists through this in set location system and travel settings in set location. That's all it is. So you're going through frame. Let's show you exactly what you're doing through. You're going through frame, 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 frame. That's all you're doing. See? That's all it is. So everything is travel line setting. Travel, travel, travel. Okay? See the electrical line wall? All right, so in that line rotation surface, we changed channel lines, stream lines, electrical grid lines, rotation surface, and set location and high settings. Okay, change position of traction. Okay, so laser line communications, let's see, communication centers. So we get 1, position of 2, and position of 3, set location of travels, right? All right, so sending calculation line interference. You film strip line, calculation line, stream lines. It sets communication into one strip, okay? Correlations of 2 line settings and directions, right? Half pipe calculation string line crosses stream. Now this direct signals. We come into panel line rotation into the sun of communication center of direct signal and set locations. All right, so sending that communication line center sets a moon line operation surface in direct signals, a set location of travel, set location directions. Now this direct line centers crosses sternal line centers of 6 lines, position locations over 7. Now 7 lines of 6 and position lines of 1, sending calculation line directions of 7 panels in phenomenal line rotations, in line calculation streamlines, in pi sonar line stream location and set location directions. Okay, now it's done. All right, so still there. Okay, so when we go through clock line channels, we go through line position of 1 perimeter line interference location 1 line. That's not a line. It's a provisional location line conditionalized setting. Directing line centers. So we got 1 line signature, 2 lines of panels. And we got 3 line position of perimeter line interference of 0 line operation. Operational line settings is 0 calculations into 1 line signature, 2 line signatures, 3, and 3 at position locations of panel line connection. Directing signal lines high interference and set location of your pyramid lines and 3 set location of travels. Directing lines of film strips and 12 signature line stream and set location of high setting. Directing cross line streams, all calculated and modified, position of track calculation setting. So we have UFO that comes in position, right? Travels line signatures, goes down cross stream into 2 tunnels operational line settings, into crevice ground lines, a stream location of setting. Now this directs the signals. Travels line center line interference and set location high setting. Now in that direction center line interference, we have 2 panels. So we take 3 lines of signature line streams, 3 lines of position of 2 panel line communications. Now this directs lines across line streamlines. This puts in position location alpha line, size graph activity line rotation center line communication setting, and metric scales of communications. Now this directs signals. Now we set a line communication line interference, a crop circle location line center position operation. That directs the signal line interference of center calculation to center position location operation to a setting calculation system. That puts position track lines in a line communication to metric communication scale lines that scans line, center line interference, platitude line interference, and center communication the 4 lines of travel line, center line in position of 5, 6, and 7 line center line in position travel. Done by equation. All right, so that's going to be signal out. Say goodbye. It's still there. All right, so we got a clock line change. We take one line setting. Okay, so we have a 0 lines, equal line conditionalized system. Now 9 line centers, 3 line is on a weighting box line rotation surface. This correlation line interference sets position of 12 lines of perimeters. Center calculation line center is a half pipe over 6 line position of traction and division. Center calculation line direction high setting crosses string lines and set location line setting of 0 line position operation of sun in the dimensional sail. Now that dimensional sail sets a high calculation streamline. Sets communications and direct signals and the position location of track. Directing line signature and 2 line streamline. Now that directs the signal. When you direct the signal line interference, you set position of track lines. Opens all signals and 2 lines of high interference. 3 set lines calculations. Find the measure correlation directions. Center calculation line directing high center line interference of 0 to 9 to 12 lines of 24, 48, 72, and 144 a crystal grid rotation balance of set locations. Done by equation. All right. So that's going to travel through loop lines of infinity 8 line rotation surface. Travel calculation lines of 6, position of 4, lines of 3, set lines of 2, position of 1, and 0 calculation line connection high center and track communication. Right? Now, getting in position line setting is understanding how to use the box line rotation surface. We have 2 box line settings. One position of track comes back in center line calculation setting, direct signal. See it come back? So remember, it's a story frame and a story frame through a formational line center line condition setting of 3 box line position locations into 3 set location of travel. Okay, directing signals and set locations. Now, in that line and center line interference, we get 2 UFO line rotations, 1 position locations, and 2 line centers and travel communications. They scan the channel lines as high set lines of 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and 12 signature patterns of correlation setting, direct signal. Setting correlation graph lines into your position locations and your film strip line centers, 12 graph line streamlines, and geographical locations of block surface line calculations, streamlines, energy wash line stream locations, and directions. Done by equation. All right, so that's going to signal out. It's travel gone, but still there. So we all have to understand how this all works in formation location of travel lines. Okay. Creates the patterns, diamond shapes through sound frequencies. Hey, Jeps, Captain, how's it going? Yep, Tina. So I hope you guys are truly understanding and studying the high position locations, high interference. Your position of travels is extremely important to your set location setting. Okay, so you have to really understand how to get in a regular conversation with your systems then. And everything around you is trying to communicate with you in set locations, right? Because if you don't communicate with these line signature and line settings, it's a backlash. Okay, it's not a one conversation piece here. There's 2 sides line calculation setting of 3 set location lines of pi. Okay, coming in correlation line direct signal is all calculated and modify how you set location to your system all through data line conditions of programs. It's setting your communication setting in all direct signals and set locations. Okay? All right, so we get graph line setting line interference. We get 0 lines of 1. In position of 2 and 3. We've done this before. We're doing it again because we're hybridizing the set lines in the alpha line setting. 7 position locations, and we go from 0 line. So the space line is line interference of 0 to 7, and position of 0 to line conditions high center interference is 7 on ground lines. Okay, 0 at the bottom and 7 at the top. 0 at the top, 7 at the bottom. So the center calculation line centers lines of 2 panel line communication line position of 3 panels line operation line interference box line rotation surface into scales of operation line signature streamlines and rotation surface at crisscross line center location of travels. Now this directs line setting. So we take the 0 lines of 1 lines of travel. We take the 0 lines of 2, 3 lines of travel, 4 lines of 5 lines of 6, 6 lines of 7, and 7 in position location operation. 7 in lines of 0, 7 lines of 1, 7 lines of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 locations directions. Okay? That way equation. So the alphabetical graph line setting line high position. So we've got 8 lines of channel, 8 lines operation, 8 lines of interference, and 8 lines of locations. 8, 8, 8, 8. Directing signal lines, equal line calculation settings. So we add the equation line stream interference, position location of 4 box lines of 9. Okay, 1 box equals 4 9 line settings, equal line conditionalized system, 4 lines of 3, equals lines of 7. Perimeter line interference at 3 set location of 3 nines, and line interference at 3 on top location of a window at set location of directions. Okay, so the 7 perimeter line location settings in the high set location system is now set up. 7 operational lines and lacing line communications in the direct location system are their location of set or direct signals in set location setting. Okay, so we calculate modify high line interference of 6 lines coming into 5 in position of 4, position of 3, in position of 2, and position line connections on 1, and travel line center. See the space line communication? That's waiting on signal to 3 line setting. Okay? So we have to learn how to operate the surface line, the correlation line interference, how you set up lines of 4 lines of perimeter lines of 4 communications into 3 line sectors. Correlation line and direct signals in a 2-8 position of space and 2-8 positions of time. Setting correlation line, direct line, center location of 4 lines of 9 and 3 lines of 9 line interference of 7 positions in operation surface and set location energy graph line stream. Done by equation. All right. So recognition of time sequence. Gone, but still there. How are we doing so far? Walking the next grid, opening new screen, waiting for equations. Can't wait for anything. Okay, so perimeter over channel. Now this is a calculations to an oscillating line setting. It's all position location of spectrum lights. Spectrum lights, a Gaussian line shift. 1 position across, 2 line signature line stream in position location high setting. Now, understand the position of track lines. There's a communication line interference. 2 position locations up, crossing stream of arrow, and crossing stream the lines of down is that location of travel settings. Now, directing line centers of panels is 1 signature line stream. So the sun crosses over line signature patterns in communications. Now, that's direct signal location setting. So the moon operates on 2 lines of perimeter line rotations, surface its correlation of travel lines, it's set calculation setting in direct signals, it's set location of travel, and set location. Okay? Now, in that direct signal line interference, the moon travels very fast in line centers of second per minute. Travel communication line setting and direct signals into the sun of communication and line signature patterns of operation surface. Done by equation. How to set these things up through line connection high interference, guys, is really to understand all communication in your system. But it's very important how to set things up to your sun lines and your moon line operation surface to get you in your time sequence location of high interference. The travel lines and high calculation setting in positions of boundaries of space has to really identify your set location, your geometry location of travels. That's how he has to get in your signature line stream location, the high center location of the sun and the moon line interference. Everybody has a sun, everybody has a moon. You have to learn how to use it through its own GOD of a set location line setting of seconds, minutes, the hour location of setting. So I'll calculate, modify, I'll calculate position of travel. Okay. All right, so we go through a signature line graph that opens all position, location, higher setting of travel connection setting interference. Now this sets up echo line, chambers, lines, and streamline and high line rotation position settings. This opens up correlating line and position, location, high center interference with size graph activity. Now, line connecting is all line interference of travel communication setting that puts up position location of scales. The scales lines its balance correlation lines of spectrum lights communicates to a system, allocates timelines times streams times pi, puts position of track communications. Done by equation. All right. All right. Boom. Gone, still there. All right. How's everybody doing so far? Zip, zap, zoom. All right. So we all have to understand how this works for all levels of your settings inside position locations, right? So it's kind of like seeing a spectrum line of communication lines of a binocular. You see 1 signature lines going far and 1 signature lines up close, right? That's why there's 2 sides of binoculars, right? 1 position locations and 2 position locations, right? Understand why you're seeing this line connection high setting and all direct signal in set location. Right? And why you see this line connection system going in this way connectionized system. So it's really understand, it's flipping it around. You're seeing it from afar, you're seeing it up close. Binoculars, line, center, location, line connectionized system. Travel mechanisms high setting is to understand how calculate and modify. But see, the provisions have changed now. So you understand your clock lines. The position line condition is your line setting when it comes in position location your eye receptors. There's to really understand how to travel communication to a system. It's all position of travel communication. See? It travels very, very fast, but it never stops in rotation surface. It always creates new anomalies in set location of travel. It never stops. Okay, going forward or going back, so align and in position. So it's trying to understand how to use it through travel line setting into hard calculations to its Merkaba or tesseract or tetrahedron location, a model. Okay. Now, once you get in that position, it comes into this line setting. Opens up your stargates. Opens up another realm. Opens up another rainbow. Correlation setting, travel line, center line, position of travel communications. Of directions, right? So one goes this way, one goes that way, one goes this way, one goes that way, right? So they come together. So when they come together, what happens? Set location setting, direct signals. You travel faster, 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 faster. So you're seeing the line condition of spectral communication setting and direct signals as set locations. Okay, so you're seeing platforms coming at you. See? And they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Ooh-ah. So we all have to know how to really get in that line position, location, and track lines. We understand that position locations. Now we go into box line signatures. One box line, center line interference. Now you go into your stargates, the stargate location system. Travel lines and signature patterns, correlation, high settings, and directions. All right. Now, once you get into that, you have to learn how to use your connections to your sonar, version of timelines, and sequence location of pattern lines, center correlation setting, and center communications in direct signals. So this directs panels, electrical line and high calculations to its box line, and position locations to its triangle line interference. See how it changes communication of settings from box to triangulation, all through Stargate line setting. So the Stargate sets line condition of a line, center line interference, and travels its line position. This is how you create a position of a portal or teleportation unit, a higher calculation stream on these set locations. All right. So it's a continuous flow. All right. So get into that spectrum line synergy of 24, 48, 72, 144. Once you pass the 144, you're in position locations of translucent line setting, which basically is gone, but it's still there, right? So the faster you go, the more you see, and the faster you go, the more you connect to through set location of travel settings. It's directing lines of highest line and positions. You got 2 lines of panels, operation that splits its location to a system. Travel line, center line interference is travel calculation setting, and 3 center calculations of pi in set location of travel. The triangulation line centers lines calculation in the direct signals, inline interference, okay, to higher calculation stream. Okay, comes back in signal, travels line setting, travel position locations, and centers back in the center communication of where it started from its beginning. Okay, so there's a lot of signature line settings that you can do through letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, all through travel communications, right? All right, so that's going to take out an equation. So getting into the line setting, you have to really understand the metric scales. It's the balanced correlation system of father space through line communication of time. It has to understand its coordinates, understand your timeline of where you are in your spectrum communication setting. This formulates line calculation system to your 2-box line rotation surface and set locations, the travel, right? So this comes in position location, a higher calculation setting, in direct signals. Okay, comes back. And this goes forward, right? In set locations, right? So eventually these 2 box lines come together. They come together. That equalizes correlations of frequencies, balance, and position of track communications, the center. Okay? So once that comes in line interference, the signature line, center line, conditions, all lines, circle line, rotation, center, ground lines, north lines, stream lines, set location, line and position location, east line, and west lines of portal communication setting, direct signals, and a more operation surface and set location. Okay? So you have to really understand more lines of travel now through geometric line stream location settings, especially when you come into your letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, because it's all coordinate line interference positioned to your mind of navigation. Understanding how to use the spectrum sphere, how to use the spectrum lights, how to navigate. Okay, how to navigate. So all you're doing is this: faster, 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 faster. So it's like this, right? Or a box. You start here. It's creating. And when it's done through location, what do you want to do with it? Send it out. Okay? Directing and redirecting. That's all it is. That's all you're doing. Directing, redirecting. Right? So the product line center line interference is already in travel communications. If you're sending in a one signal line setting, one line, right? There's travel communication. There's the one right here. Right? That's the one, right? So what are you creating? You're creating a hologram. Okay? So we got essential lines of 1, 1. Okay? 2 lines of 1 in one position. So that's a 3 triangle line spot line, setting correlation system, a 3 set line consists of travel lines of communication. Right? Remember I told you line interference, a triangulation of 3 sets in position of 4, 3 here, and 4 line setting, 1, 2, 3, 4 in set locations. How it comes in a box line in triangulation. How it comes in line interference. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of boxes, and triangulation of 3 sets comes in line calculation setting in position of track lines of 43. So you have to learn how to put your boxes and triangles together through number. Okay, because remember you're in 2 theta settings now. So you got 2 TV box lines that are in position location in this setting. That's what you're dealing with now. And you got your lacing lines of communication of travels. That's where you're going to come into. This opens all your box line, your theta line rotation surface. Correlation line, direct signals, digital lines, digital location, eye center, electrical lines, and fusion location of travel communications coming back to you through signal location. Okay? I know. I'm just showing you exactly what's going on with your fragmentation settings and stream location of theta line position of realms. So that's what it is. So that's exactly what's going on. If you open your frame, you get out of resistance, it comes back to you through a bubble, and it creates a position locations to a modulation of a model of correlation setting of travel. So that's how it connects to transmitting and receiving. Transmitting and receiving. Transmitting out, okay, and receiving in. See the bubble? You see it? Multipass. So now you understand how it works. How one has to go this way, one has to go that way. It's always going to be positive and negative. But see, the positive and negative creates the model of communication of its own GOD. That is the process of meaning of life, guys. Okay? Bringing things together into one. One. Yeah, the view is so clear now, isn't it? So now you understand the communication when it comes into transmitting and receiving, transisting line interference or transformation, morphing, or any of that correlation setting. It's all direct signal because that's what you're doing is you're creating travel, a higher line setting, position, location, dimensions, intergalactic settings, mega universe line rotations, in position location calculations. Yep. Oh, it's simple to set location to a setting. That travel line communication start with this position. This is sending out, right? That's sending out. And this is sending back. That's how it works. Okay, so you send out and you send back. See how it works? But see, the thing is, it comes together, guys. It comes together. So, you really have to understand how to use your line settings in position of 24, 48, 72, and 144. So let's say you got 4 clocks coming together, right? These are 4 clock line settings, right? So in that line communication comes in this position. Okay? Gets confusing, but you got their online communication with setting directions, right? So what you're doing is you're directing all 4 clock lines into one position location of one org. Process is yin and yang. 6/9 line settings in traction. So you got the flow lines, the fragmentation lines, in the same stream in set locations of yin and yang, yin and yang, yin and yang, yin and yang becomes line center line interference. So the yin and yang is a process communication of figure 8 motion, set location, setting, and directions. Hoo-ah! Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. See it? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. The mask. So, but I'm just showing you what you guys have to understand. You have to create the infinity eights. So that's the two yin and yangs, guys, coming together. Two infinity eights comes into your travel settings. If you can't create the infinity eight line interference of GOV, you're never going to understand your communication travels. So that's what you're doing. Every single line communication is creating infinity eights. You create the infinity eight line setting, it creates a figure eight rotation surface, right? And position locations, round and 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 round you go. That's it. That's all it is. Right? So the more you stay at travel, that's what it is to calculate your system. Starting track lines. Your position location comes in this setting. All right? This is UN calculations on the grounds, right? Crystal grid lines, line communication, position line center interference, travel communications, all direct signals, is location magnetic high interference, or communication line setting, and to mark about, and travel communication. Now, to understand that, what you're doing with your 7 lines is creating what? What is it creating? A figure 8. It's going in rotation. Going in rotation. Whoa, what's that? A figure 8? Whoa! So the signature lines has line communication to its antenna, 2 line settings, center location, high system. So the figure 8 finally moves its set location setting and it travels in the right direct location, which is its balance correlation setting of center operation line condition system. That puts position of space line of balance correlation line calculation setting direction. So that's why you have a chakra setting. So you can balance out the infinity 8 so you can travel to other dimensions, other universe locations. All right. All done by equation. So how does everybody feel now? The importance of putting your masculine and feminine together to create affinity 8. Wow. Imagine that. All you're doing is you're putting the masculinity and femininity of the 6 and 9 together in a cyclone calculation setting and a center calculation system of the center operation of you through communication operation, that's computer operation setting and directions. That's all you're doing, right? So you're bringing it into one. 2 into 1. 2 into 1. Or 4 into 2. Or 3 into 3, right? You got 6 lines into 3. 3 lines into 2. 2 lines into 1 in one position. Okay? So if you understand the mechanism line calculation setting, then you understand the process, how you have 5 finger line rotations. But it's interesting locations when you get in track communications. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why is that? I keep saying that. It's interesting locations. Where's the 5 in that set locations? Where's the 5 in set location? Center of operation. To set a position into your line setting is a barcode. And that barcode recognizes correlation settings of weather lines. It's position and track communications. How to use your finger line communication settings. Each finger is a planet surface location of its clock lines. Has a track communications to your baby, child, teenager, adult. How to set location to your sun or your moon. Moon line, sun line. 3 weather lines that how calculation sitting. Your position in your 5 lines is your 5 elements of you inside. Earth, water, air, and fire. Center calculation is plasma. See, bet you didn't know that. So it's all calculated modified. How do you set the communication settings to your system? It's all calculated modified set location inside of you, all through clocking, right? So the more you stand your clock lines of 24, 48, 72, and 144, what's happening to provisional locations? You're transmitting and receiving more information through data, and the process is going more. right? And when you're creating more, you're putting in frame, you're putting in story, you're putting in structure, you're putting in positions to your life. So what you're doing is you're putting everything in chronological order. Okay? So in that centric communication system, you're seeing things like, say, you see a videograph and basically you don't know what day it is. So, okay, let's say it's Monday. Okay, it's Monday. All right, here's Monday. Here's a videograph that comes in and you don't know what it is. But then you realize it's 5 days ahead. And then you realize, whoa, 5 days just went ahead, line condition. Now I'm seeing it through vision, which means I saw 5 days ahead already, which I already created. So you start to see more when you focus more. As long as you understand the energy, then you understand the vibration of its frequency is about bringing these things together to create your anomalies of your own structure, of your own design. And when you create your own design, you create your own vision location to its cortex line setting. It's the placebo that changes the track communication emotional system. Okay? So you have to really understand how this all works and how information is to your settings, guys. It's so simple in the location system. If you set an infinity 8-line setting, right? But you can't get in position of balance. You can't get in positions of balance. You can't get in positions of balance. You're never going to get in position of center. Okay? To get into balance is understand how to direct and redirect your figure 8 and position location to track communication settings and all calculations to its planet center and rotation to its position locations of its operation. Which basically turns the line center's infinity in position locations to your line settings. The actual infinity 8 becomes its atom rotation to its molecular light of structure location settings. Multipass! So what you're doing is you're creating an atom. All through travel. The faster you go, the more you create line settings of center. And then it travels. And then it travels. And then it travels. And then it travels because it's knowing what it's doing through balance of communication. See? That's how it works. Yep. Well, I know. It's amazing how it comes in line center. So you guys are now in 2 lines of 7-7 track communications, right? Through phenomenal line rotation of surface. Okay. Founders of space line is calculated now to a new sky grid line setting in rotation to its surface location to its system. Foundation graph lines puts all levels of operation to its surface. We understand how the founders of space gets position of track lines and communication and set lines and calculation of its own spectrum communication into its system position of programs. Its operation surface. Okay. So in that position locations, it's all travel line setting. Now in that direct signal, we come in position locations into 7. Okay, so he's in a trimester 7 now, coming to line centers of 8. Okay, tomorrow you guys come into your infinity 8-line setting, which is extremely powerful cell location system. So this is where founders of space, Father puts it all figure 8-line setting line conditions to its atom in your timeline sequence. Okay, remember, it's all about the frequency. So it's about balancing the position line and high center interference. So the letters, numbers, and shapes become your emotional system of balance correlations of center through travel. Okay, transmitting receiving is the balance correlation setting of yin and yang. The process of 6 is the process of 9, is the center operation of you inside location system. Okay, all right. So everybody having fun? It's amazing how you come in that center line in position of travels, right? It recognizes you in all position location in this information system. See, I was trying to figure out how to use the numbers, letters, shapes, and symbols as friends, relationship, and partnerships. Okay, and that's what you have to do. You now having regular conversations, not just with yourself, but you're also having conversations with everything around you and set location through its own GOD, a travel mechanism. Okay, through data, it's communicating with you. All right, so center calculation line setting is that location of your system, right? This is your pi. You're the center position, center position, center position line conditions, right? Torque field. Okay, so in that direct signal and high line in any direct signal location setting, all calculated and modify. So let's say you got position locations of pi and position line conditions and settings, 15 line setting. Okay, 15 line settings in position of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, split in 6 locations, right? So in that line interference, you're setting line conditions of 15 minutes in perimeter, 15 minutes in perimeter, all the way around your clock lines of the 24 line setting locations. 24 is the balance line of your left and your right hemisphere, guys. Okay, you need a 24 ground. You can look on a 12 position locations operation line surface, but you have to be in a 24 ground setting if you're going to travel faster. So it's all calculated and modified. So 24 grounds is yin and yang. That's the process of your left and right hemisphere, which is a hemisync. That's a rotation, spin cycle line, center line interference, of travel communication line interference, and position of the left and right line communication setting into your cloud lines of our operation surfaces applications. Now, indirect signal, you have to really understand how it works in all calculation of your travel settings. Now, in direct signal line interference, now you got position location in your watch. You're looking at 15 minutes in set locations. So 15 miles, 15 billion set lines and cycles, 15 billion trillion line calculations of squares, a triangulation line interference, but it's always on a 15-minute line setting. Now, Earth line rotations, but it's limitless when you're in space line. Okay, it's not 15 minutes because it's not in a frequency. It's a low ground setting. That's the Earth line rotations. But anything above that sys location is past 15 minutes. Okay, that's 15 hours, 15 dimensions, 15 space lines. It goes beyond what you can do through 15 billion cycles, 15 trillion line centers of clocking. It's amazing where you get balance with your set location system. But the Earth is always going to be 15 minutes. Okay? Because it's connected to the grounds of operation you're setting of consciousness, guys. That doesn't change position of traction. Okay? Because if it was 15 million years in future line of clock line, setting line interference, then your position locations, your Earth line rotations would be extremely high in set locations. So there's a reason why there's a spectral communication of ground lines of operation of surface that sets a communication of density set lines of interference. So remember that. You're always looking at 15 minutes per pi. That's why you go clock lines of 12. But say your clock is not a 12-line signature. Your cells work on a 0 line of 9 line to 12 line connections. It doesn't surface location your 12s. You understand? You have to understand how to use your pi in a 15-minute line setting. It's line communications of seconds, minutes, and hour location system. Okay? All right, so we're going to get into that tomorrow because we're coming into infinity lines. Okay? So in that position locations, Founders of Space has got to set up a 24,000 infinity line cycle, has to set up a 24,000 lines of 4-line interference position of travel. It's got to set up a 48,000 line window, line calculation, 72,000 computer line, and 144,000 crystal graded line interference in position locations in the line setting in direct signals into new sky grid and set location. Okay? All right, see you guys in a bit. Adios.